And a lot of people have been saying that what Pope Francis actually meant was that just because you're a homosexual, just because you're part of a homosexual union, doesn't mean that you should be ostracized from your family. Doesn't mean you should be treated differently. Doesn't mean you should be kicked out from your home. Hey, what's up, everybody? I am your host, Daniel Barron,
And I'm your co-host, Michael Gonzalez.
and welcome to God First with DM. So I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the social media news lately, but a couple of weeks ago, Pope Francis was pretty much all throughout not only Catholic news, but also like in mainstream news. Michael, do you want to tell us a little bit about what was going on and what were people talking about?
Okay, so Pope Francis, during that week, he stated something about same-sex marriage and civil unions. But here's a little bit about a documentary from Francesco. So this is what he quoted. Homosexuals have a right to be part of the family. They're children of God and have a right to a family. Nobody should be thrown out or be made miserable because of it. He later on clarified, what we have to create is a civil union law, the way that they are, legally covered, the Pope said, and he stood for that. So, Daniel, what do you think about that?
So, I mean, when discussing it with social media and stuff, mainstream media was quick to say that the Pope had changed church's teaching, and this, I mean, with this quote and interpreting this quote, really comes to two theories as to what did the Pope mean. Mainstream media and a lot of people that aren't necessarily Catholic would say that the Pope Francis is changing the teachings of the church in terms of same-sex marriage. So I just want to highlight something that happened in 2010. Pope Francis, when he was not Pope, when he was actually Archbishop of Buenos Aires, he opposed efforts to legalize same-sex marriage. And it's also important to highlight that even if Pope Francis wanted to change the stance of the church with this issue, he couldn't. Marriage isn't created by man. Marriage is created by God, and thus man can't change it. So regardless of what anybody says, God created marriage between a man and a woman, and it will always remain as that marriage being man between a woman. And this also leads us to talk about, well, if Pope Francis didn't necessarily mean that, then what did he mean? And a lot of people have been saying that what Pope Francis actually meant was that just because you're a homosexual, just because you're part of a homosexual union, doesn't mean that you should be ostracized from your family. Doesn't mean you should be treated differently. Doesn't mean you should be kicked out from your home.
Yeah, it's because it's like he mentioned, even then they deserve a family, but what he didn't mean is for them to form a family, it's for them to be a part of the family, Because many times they are seen as outcasts or they're just thrown away, but no, they too deserve the same rights as a male or female.
Definitely. Also, another thing to highlight, us as Americans, obviously the world's a lot different, and just the way we describe as civil unions could be different from the way other countries see civil unions. Mm-hmm. Also, it's important to highlight, we're pretty privileged, I guess, to live in America, but in some African countries, and not just necessarily African countries, but other countries in the world, it's actually illegal to be homosexual. It's a crime. And there's other countries where you get killed for being a homosexual. So Pope Francis was really shining a light into that issue that sometimes we forget about. We're so privileged to live in America, but there's other countries where where not everybody's treated with respect, and us as Christians, we should treat others with respect, right? So this kind of shocked the world because from its surface, it sounds a little different from kind of the church's teachings from the past. So if we go back to 2003, under the leadership of Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, which became Pope Benedict XVI, and under the direction of Pope John Paul II, the Vatican's Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith taught that respect for homosexual persons cannot lead in any way to approval of homosexual behavior or to legal recognition of homosexual unions. The common good requires that laws recognize, promote, protect marriage as the basis of the family, the primary unit of society. So what they were basically getting at was that, yes, we have to show compassion. We have to respect homosexual persons. But our respect shouldn't lead to a homosexual civil union law, or shouldn't lead to homosexual marriage. The church can never adopt that. So yes, we respect them, but our respect cannot lead us to that. Right? So Michael, do you want to just tell us a little bit of, why also we as Catholics are opposed to this?
Okay, so according to church teaching, this is and also this shows why we're opposed to a same-sex civil union. So I have 3 points, and the first point is it serves as a legislative and cultural bridge to same-sex marriage initiatives.
So with that, when we think of a bridge, it connects one thing to another thing, right? So if we allow for same-sex civil union, it's just going to form a bridge to the church and to society opening itself up to same-sex marriage. And that's why we need to stop, and that's why we're opposed to same-sex civil union.
Mm-hmm. Second point, give tacit approval to immorality.
Yeah, so if the church were to be okay with same-sex civil union, then it would basically be telling people it's okay to commit sin, and the church as Mother Church should steer people towards Christ, not away from Christ, right?
And the last point is fail to protect the rights of children to be parented by both a mother and a father.
And I think that's very important to highlight. Each children has a right to have a mother and a father. And with us allowing same-sex civil union, the same-sex couple could adopt the children, and that children would either be deprived of a mother or a father, right? By definition. So, like I said, each children has a right to have a father and a mother, and the state shouldn't take that right away from them.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mike, I know we talked a little bit about these points and stuff, but what does the Catechism teach us? Do you want to just kind of read us the first one we have?
Okay.
To highlight?
So from the Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 2357, it says, homosexuality refers to relations between men or between women who experience an exclusive or predominant sexual attractions toward persons of the same sex. It has taken a great variety of forms through the centuries and in different cultures. Its psychological genesis remains largely unexplained, basing itself on sacred scripture which presents homosexuals act as a grave act of depravity.
Mm-hmm.
Tradition has always declared that homosexual acts are intrinsically disordered. They are contrary to the natural law. They close the sexual act to the gift of life. They do not precede a genuine, effective, and sexual complementary. Under no circumstances can they be approved.
Yeah, under no circumstances could they be approved. If you read that paragraph 2357, defines what homosexual acts are and why the church is against it. Labels it as intrinsically disordered. But with that, if we read the next paragraph, which is important to highlight because sometimes we forget about the next paragraph. Paragraph 2358. The number of men and women who have deep-seated homosexual tendencies is not negotiable. This inclination, which is objectively disordered, constitutes for most of them a trial. They must be accepted with respect, compassion, and sensitivity. Every sign of unjust discrimination in their regard should be avoided. These persons are called to fulfill God's will in their lives, and if they are Christians, to unite to the sacrifice of the Lord's cross the difficulties they may encounter from their condition. Right? So, as Christians, as Catholics, sometimes, we want to just cite church teaching, which we should. But we also, if we read the next paragraph, it tells us that we need to be respectful, compassionate, and sensitive. We need to love our fellow brethren and lead them towards Christ, not away from Christ, right? So with that, Mike, would you just want to have any closing words about this topic?
I would just like to say, like how the church says, we have to have open arms to them, because they too may be suffering from, frustration, feeling neglected or lonesome. But as a church, we must invite them to come to the church and get closer to Christ, because in the church there's always space for everyone, and it has no boundaries towards sex or whatever your preferences may be. You're always welcome to come to our church.
Yep. And with that, we just want to thank you guys for watching today's video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. If you have any topic that you'd like us to discuss about, please put it down in the comment section. Thank you. See you in the next one.